wind and solar than are working in coal. But we have to be bragging about it. We have to lean in on this. We have to fight to make sure that we get our message out, that we are going to save all of creation by engaging in massive job creation. That's what you're all about. Clean energy jobs are now in the top 10 jobs in Massachusetts. And that's because we're not just the Bay State, we're the brain state. We know how to do things. We know how to invent things. We know how to deploy things. That's who we are. And ultimately, that's going to be the model for the entirety of the United States and for the entire planet. That's our responsibility. So, just 10 years ago, there was only 2,000 megawatts of wind and solar in the United States. That's all there were. 10,000. Today, we are up to about 175,000 megawatts, and it is continuing to grow. And it just showed that it was the tax policy and the regulatory policy, not the wind or the sun, which didn't get brighter or blow stronger in the last 10 years, but we changed the regulatory structure and we began to encourage that to happen. There were only 2,000 all-electric vehicles in the United States 10 years ago. 2,000 total all-electric vehicles in our country 10 years ago. This year, the industry is going to sell about 400,000 in 1 year. People didn't get smarter in the last 10 years, but we created incentives for these kinds of technologies now to be deployed. And so what we're seeing is Moore's Law in renewables and battery technologies, in thinking about all green new buildings. And your leadership is absolutely essential because we have to be first. Boston, Massachusetts, we have to show how we can do it. So I'm fighting for the Massachusetts model in Washington. That's what the Green New Deal is all about. Climate resilience, infrastructure. We need to find ways to leverage the power of the private sector. That's why I introduced a national climate bank about 4 weeks ago, which is about a $35 billion institution that would be created. It would loan out at low interest rates to communities, to private sector groups, the ability for them to get access to that low-cost capital and then to be able to invest in clean technologies in our country. We estimate that would leverage about $750 billion worth of private sector investment. We need to do the same thing with the auto industry. Donald Trump is trying to roll back, and that money could be used for buildings, could be used for infrastructure. How do we build new buildings that are more energy efficient, but how do we take the old infrastructure and upgrade it dramatically to reduce the greenhouse gases coming out of buildings, which is where 40% of all greenhouse gases come from. And we could do the same thing in other sectors. We could say, well, in fuel economy standards, we could increase them from 54 miles per gallon to 64 miles per gallon to 74 miles per gallon over the next 10 years. Over the next 20 years, we put 70% of all oil we consume into gasoline tanks. Donald Trump's trying to roll back those standards from 54 and put it back down to 38. That's a dramatic rear view mirror, put it in reverse view of how America can solve this problem by investing in new technologies. So in area after area, they continue to say on the Republican side, on the Koch brothers side, this is socialism. This is socialism. That's what they call the Green New Deal. And I say to them, tax breaks for the oil industry for 100 years. Tax breaks to the natural gas industry. Tax breaks to the coal industry. Tax breaks for the nuclear industry. What do you call that? Isn't that socialism? They say, no, that's capitalism. So all I say is, give us some of that capitalism for wind and solar and energy efficiency and sustainability and all electric vehicles and all electric buildings, and we will bury you. Because now there'll be a level playing field. Now we'll show how we can do this in an effective, cost competing way with those traditional energy sources. And we can do it now. Again, the jobs that we have in Massachusetts already in the top 10 employers in the state, but it can grow exponentially. When I was a boy, President Kennedy challenged our country to put a mission on the moon and return it safely within 10 years. Why did he do that? He did it because the Soviet Union had Sputnik. The Soviet Union had Yuri Gagarin circling the planet, and when the president spoke to our nation, he said that we were behind and we had to do something about it. And why was that? Because we did not want the Soviet Union to pose an existential threat to our planet and to democracies around the world. And he said that we would have to invent metals that did not exist. We would have to invent new propulsion technologies that did not exist, new alloys that did not exist, and we would have to bring that mission safely back from the moon through heat, half the intensity of the sun, and we would have to do so before the end of that decade. That was 50 years ago. And he said we would do it not because it was easy, but because it was hard, and we would be successful because we are Americans, and we are bold, and we accept these great challenges. Well, the United Nations said last November 2018, that climate change is now an existential threat to the planet. Our own 13 federal agencies said last November in a climate report, Donald Trump's federal agencies, that the planet could warm upwards of 9 degrees by the year 2100. What's the difference? 9 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a big difference between 79 degrees and 88 degrees. That's a big, big difference. 79 degrees, let's go out for a walk. 88 degrees, let's get inside and turn on the air conditioning. Getting too hot. So that's the threat. And they said that sea rise could go up by 11 feet. Sea rise could go up by 11 feet. What does that mean for us? Well, Greenland's just up the coast a bit. Greenland is 1,000 miles long. It's about 300 miles wide. It's got a block of ice on it, about 10 Empire State Buildings high. And if it goes into the ocean, a glass of water already filled, and an ice cube that big goes in, 1,000 miles long, 300 miles wide, 10 Empire State Buildings high. That's what they're talking about. 10 or 11 feet rise in the sea. That's us. Faneuil Hall, you just keep going all the way down the Charles River. You can only imagine what the impact would be on us and other cities along the east coast of the United States. So we know that this threat is real. We believe in the science. The president has a hard time understanding the threat that it will pose to Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago will become Mar Lagoon by 2030, but he can pay to protect himself. We need policies in place that we protect everybody else as well. And we can do it. And that's what you're here for today. And I just wanted to come over and congratulate you on your tremendous effort, your leadership, your inspiration, not only to me, but to everyone, not only in Boston, but across the whole country. Thank you all so much. Thanks for having me.